opportunities in the solar sector. Then this afternoon we move to the concept of the Asian Super Grid, which is the infrastructure, the interconnection, the transmission complement of the deployment of solar and wind energy, with presentations from the Korean perspective and Russia. There were also references to China and Japan, and finally the presentation considering the experience in Europe, Germany, and Desertec in the North Mediterranean. All of these presentations and both panels consider the regional, made references to the importance of the regional projects. With this session, we are going to emphasize these aspects with the role of international organizations. International cooperation will be inevitable, considering the technical aspects of curtailment. The best way to manage the network of intermittency will be with reinforcing and creating interconnections among all interested countries. So from a technical perspective, it will be something inevitable. Also from an economic perspective, it was presented that Mongolia has the objective to be a regional hub for renewable energy sources, to export to neighboring countries, where the increase of energy, where the demand of energy is increasing exponentially. So for these reasons, the region component is very important. And to continue from the perspective of the role of the international organizations, we will consider the legal framework and the policy framework to facilitate, to provide a framework of cooperation where business and political relations can take place. Then that will be done with a presentation from the Energy Charter. Then a presentation from the United Nations Commission for Asian and Pacific will put the question of the Gobitec and Asian Supergrid in a broader, in a more international perspective concerning the entire region, Asia and Pacific. Then more specific to renewable energies, it's important to consider best practices and recommendations across the world. And for that we will have a presentation from IRENA, the International Agency for the Development of Renewable Energy Sources, and to consider how to finance and provide technical assistance to all these projects. There will be a presentation from the Asian Development Bank. I would like to invite the four speakers. I will introduce them one by one before the presentation. So please come to the stage. We will start with a presentation from the Energy Charter by Safar Samadov, who is expert in investments at the Energy Charter Secretariat.
Dear panel speakers, Chairman, thank you for introduction. Dear ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say good afternoon to everybody. I will speak on the presentation at the title Common Legal Framework for International Cooperation. Before I do, I would like to say a few words. Why countries come together to international organizations? Why are they becoming the members? And the reasons is, if we think about 20, 30 years in the past, a lot of countries and policymakers thought about energy independence. So it meant that countries wanted to be independent in terms of energy security. What we see nowadays that more and more countries speak about the energy interdependence. It means that you can still ensure your energy security while you're working with other countries. This is the reasons there are a number of international organizations that brought together different countries to proceed with common objective to ensure energy security for all people. In my speech, I would like to address I would like to first to inform you about the regional study that was performed with our international partners. Then I speak about the potential of the legal frameworks, And where I'll be talking about these broad actions and recommendations, particularly tailored for the Northeast Asia region. And then we'll conclude with some concrete activities and steps on how to support the Gobitec and Asian Super Grid. Now, the study that all you received in your memory USB cards is called the Regional Study Gobitec and Asian Super Grid. It was led by the Energy Charter Secretariat in close cooperation with Ministry of Energy Mongolia, Korean Energy Economics Institute, Energy System Institute of Russia Federation, Japan Renewable Foundation, and Fraunhofen Institutes of Germany. Well, we really appreciate the partnership that we established because it helped to bring us in one place a huge expertise of different institutions that looked very in depth into issues of Gobitec and Asian Super Grid. What these experts did, they look first into technologies and cost implications. If we want to invest heavily in the Gobi Desert, how we develop, what kind of technologies we use for production in terms of wind and solar, what kind of technology we use for interconnection system, what would be the cost implications, and then we look at the regional benefits. Why actually we're doing this investment? What does it bring to the people of this region? And then the study was concluded with certain recommendations on to how to go forward. Well, the idea, if to make it simple, is if we're looking on the left corner, we have a 100 gigawatt of technically potential that could be developed in the Gobi Desert. It estimated 50 megawatt in wind and 50 megawatt in solar. So this Gobi Desert is shared by Mongolia and China. So these are the prime locations to develop this renewable energy potential. Why to develop it? You can look at the second corner, the lower corner, which is showing electricity demand in the Northeast Asia. And you can see there will be very tremendous increase in electricity from now on up to 2030. So the electricity demand in the region will almost double indeed. And the prime, of course, country where the electricity demand will be increasing rapidly will be China because of its industrialization program. However, in other countries also you can see the slight increase in the energy demand. It will come with development of economies also here in Mongolia, where mining sector also now demanding more and more energy supply. Now, we tend to develop this energy, and where this energy is consumed. Of course, part of this energy will be consumed locally. That's why we have a strength of renewable energy sources, because they can deliver energy to local location. But for Mongolia, with small population, it's not possible to consume so much energy. So obviously, Mongolia is looking forward how to make exports of electricity. And this scheme is showing the idea of the Asian Super Grid. And on the top, you can see that its possible start point could be in the Siberia region of Russia Federation near Irkutsk, where you have very strong hydropower resources. Then in the Gobi Desert, you have wind and solar. This energy is produced and transported via high voltage transmission lines to consumption centers in the east, in China, South Korea, and Japan. There is also potential to integrate North Korea into the project, provided the political situation is favoring this approach. The overall, in our estimates, when we look at the assumption was made that the countries will in future consider importing electricity of no more than 10%. Because of the simple reason you don't want to be strongly dependent on other countries, so you still want to maintain your own electricity production. With this study, we also look at the, of course, fantastic opportunities to develop renewables, but also what are the weaknesses and threats to develop such a mega-scale projects. On the strength side, we have potential. We can reduce CO2 emissions. In opportunity side, we can improve energy security for all participating countries. But weakness that we discovered, there is no one legal framework for energy cooperation that can bring all countries together and share some rules on how to invest, transport electricity and distribute it. Among the threats that we consider, there is also lack of political cooperation in the region. And this region has its own history, and nowadays there is certain progress in different areas. In energy sector, one of the areas where we certainly believe more progress could be made, and it could be foundation to proceed in other areas of cooperations among these countries. Then the study was concluded with some key messages. So the future would require the different partners to work on the interconnection system. We still should be open-minded in terms of which technology do we use here. There is a need to develop the legal framework. We have to work on the regional level, because otherwise these ideas could not be possible simply. We need to also consider the sustainability and security of these initiatives. In terms of the policy advice, the study was sort of giving directions on where the future activity could take place. And you can see the hub of different activities is quite detailed, which calling that the different stakeholders need to be engaged. And I'd like just to demonstrate the issue of the financial issue is important. This project that was developed by in Mongolia by private sector, this 50 megawatt wind farm, was participated by different stakeholders, private sector, but also financial institutions contributed to its development. We also consider as part of the study that the government should consider to establish a fund, a special investment fund, which would help to take off different investment projects in the Gobi. So we can work with financial institutions, but in terms of long-term direction, there is a need of access to significant financial resources. And potentially proceeds from the Mongolia energy mining sector could be a revenue that could be used to direct development of renewable energy sector here. Now, I'd like to tell you a few words about my organization. Today, you heard already several times about this. This map represents the members of the Energy Charter. In dark blue, you see our membership, which is stretching from UK to Japan and down to Central Asia and Turkey. You see in the light blue the countries which are observers to the process. So in this region, we have Japan, Russia, Mongolia, members of our organization, and China and South Korea, observer states. It's very unique for us. We'd like to promote this cooperation between our members and observer states. And some members that are very light blue, they are observer countries by invitation. Now the reference document that we mentioned today is a treaty, and is a basic elements of the treaty. Is a foundation is that there is a national sovereignty over natural resources. So each country in our organization decides itself how much energy resources it would like to develop. This is fundamental principle. And second principle is a non-discrimination among participants. So what we're trying to contribute to the establishing a level playing field. So countries can work together and there is no discrimination whatsoever in different energy market segments. And the provisions in the treaty have on investment promotion protection. We have rules for international energy trade and transit, which is covering all type of energy, including energy equipment. We also work on energy efficiency policies, and we have different instruments how to promote it. And later on I will show you a few instruments how we work with government of Mongolia. Now the treaty is a supranational agreement. It's fairly basic, it has just common principles. It is above the national legislation of the countries. So the countries free to maintain the national legislation, regulation, but while doing so they have to be aware about their obligation under the treaty, which is there for the long-term time. The treaty provides security for investment. We have also within the treaty the dispute resolution schemes. We have dispute resolution schemes between the governments and also between the investor and the governments. And these tools are actively used by our constituency. Like as of today, we have more than 53 energy disputes. So you can see, you can have a very fantastic ideas, but when the governments and private sector have certain issues to settle, and there are some difficulties, then the treaty can help. And this instrument is effectively used. I wish to know that over the last, let's say, few years, we've seen a lot of countries. This is an example of Mongolia. We had 2 reviews in 2011 on energy efficiency, and in 2013 on investment. Within this work, we work with the government, we work with Ministry of Energy, and we developed certain specific recommendations on how to improve investment climate in terms of legislation, in terms of the energy markets. And we're happy to see that over the years, we see that a lot of progress has been made. And Mongolia has successfully implemented a number of recommendations and improved its attractiveness as a country of this. In terms of specifically promoting the Gobitec and Asian Super Grid, we believe there needs more information to be developed. Still, international investors are not very well aware what does it imply. So we consider that there will be need for different studies, and particular one would be to look at integrated development of power systems. Also, we need to facilitate regional cooperation. We need to bring this forward to different countries. We're not only speaking here in Mongolia, but we need to go to different countries in the region to explain, to listen, to communicate, to consult what are the issues there. So we have a win-win situation for. On the top, you see we need to continue working with the government of Mongolia on promoting energy security and promoting capacity building of Mongolian experts. In terms of activities, we develop 7 packages that we would like to implement with our international partners that I mentioned at the beginning of my presentation. You can see that our proposal is to launch specific activities in the next 3 years in the areas of political cooperation, especially in the region of Northeast Asia here. Also need to consider some legal frameworks for the region. We need to continue our economic analysis and capacity building, and also ultimately to develop and sign MOU with all countries and the interested countries in the region on how to promote this initiative. Also at the technical level, we need to perform different studies. For this we have international expertise, and we will be assisting the government on Mongolia on these matters. We also rely on cooperation with international financial institutions. Particularly, we're looking forward to cooperation with Asian Development Bank, how they could also provide their expertise and assistance to develop these ideas so we can work all together.
Thank you, Martin. Let me start. Let me start by thanking the Energy Charter Secretariat, the Minister of Energy from Mongolia, for inviting SCAP here. Some of you may heard about SCAP, but some of you may haven't heard about SCAP. Actually, we are one of the 5 regional commissions of the United Nations based in Bangkok. We are in charge of the economic and social development for Asian Pacific. It's a kind of intergovernmental platform for policy dialogue, to share experiences, and especially for sustainable development through regional cooperation. So my presentation here, I just want to share about what we are doing and how we just can work together, especially from the inspirations we heard from this morning, from earlier session. All these activities based in Northeast Asia and also from other parts of the world. So we are also doing the work, try to promote regional cooperation to enhance the energy security in Asia Pacific. You know, Asia Pacific, most of people just live in the rural areas. Energy security is one of the major issues. If you look at the energy importing countries, the top 5 countries, actually 4 are located in Asia and Pacific. You see, from China, India, Japan, and Korea. And the other one is the US is not in this region. At the same time, if you see in Asia, we have about 600 million people without access to electricity, and 1.3 billion people still rely on traditional energy. So actually, energy is really a key issue for development in Asia Pacific. And if you see the development tendency for next 30 years until 2050, the energy consumption in this region will be doubled. And also the energy consumption is compared to the OECD country. I think this region will be the #1, even past the total energy consumption in OECD country. But at the same time, this region, there's rich energy resources, but the issue is imbalanced distribution of the energy resources. So that also brings the opportunities for regional cooperation. So energy trading, especially electricity trading, now is currently occurring in different sub-regions. So I will share about the different initiatives in different sub-regions. So for Northeast Asia, if we heard a lot of Northeast Asia, there's progress going on. But if you look at the whole Asia, there are different initiatives in different sub-regions. Probably the most advanced is the ASEAN Power Grid, which is the 10 countries in Southeast Asia. So the 10 countries by next year, 2015, so ASEAN Economic Community will be established. So that means that the 10 countries will be one economic development community. It's like a European Union currently, but it's an early version of the European Union. So, but this will really promote the economic cooperation among those countries. And also electricity connectivity is one of the major, one of the priorities. And the 10 countries, physically, they already have an ASEAN Power Grid. And also for the South Asian countries, the SAARC Energy Ring, which is already discussed for many years, some of the progress already made. It's mainly to establish kind of market for electricity. And also CASA 1000 in Central Asia. So our colleague from ADB, probably they have more information. That's also supported by ADB and the World Bank to mainly accelerate this kind of connectivities and establish the power market in Central Asia. And there's also the initiative supported by ADB, the Great Mekong Sub-region for connectivities. And also for Northeast Asia, we had a lot of discussion, and also for Central Asia, unified energy system. So last year, in the ASCAP Commission session, actually we adopted, in 2012, in the 68th Commission session of ASCAP, we adopted one resolution which mainly to support the energy security by connectivity in Asia Pacific. This was the mandate assigned by the member countries to ASCAP to enhance regional energy security through improving energy efficiency, connectivity, and promoting a greater share of renewable clean energy for more sustainable future. So the concept of the connectivity here is to promote regional integration for electricity infrastructure and the harmonization between the institutions. That's different institutions and different ongoing sub-regional initiatives. Secondly, to enhance resources security through diversify of supply and enable capacity for regional load planning and balancing, thereby increasing the efficiencies and optimize the resources consumption. And also progress toward the regional integrated competitive electricity market. So that is the ultimate goal, to support the regional initiative. So the connectivity for energy security, the main activity will include to identify different options. So this is actually under the resolution. We are just mandated to do some kind of study to identify different options. In consultation with the member states, member states may choose regional energy connectivity, including an international intergovernmental framework that could be developed for an integrated regional power grid, which could be termed as an Asian Energy Highway. So when we talk about Asian Energy Highway, in short term, like we mainly talk about the grid connectivity. But in long term, which also include other connectivity issues, including oil and gas. So analyze the social, economic, and environmental benefits of each option, as well as the challenges and opportunities towards the realization of each option. So during the discussion, we're very clearly to see that technically, economically, maybe environmentally, there's not much challenge. But the major challenge for Asian Energy Highway, for the grid connectivity, is the political commitment. So political commitment, if you look at like a meeting, people we talk about here, mainly from research institute, from associations, but then we need the government officials, policymakers to understand the concept and to support this kind of process. I think that is what mostly we are doing now, try to provide a kind of evidence. So this kind of connectivity will support, will enhance energy security, will support the energy industry development. And the regional cooperation is the first step, and to identify this kind of procedures and process. So based on the resolution adopted in ASCAP, so we made some progress to start this kind of, first to promote this concept and to integrate into this concept into the regional cooperation for Asia Pacific on energy. Different agencies like IEA, like Energy Charter, ADB, World Bank, and also the IRENA, a lot of this kind of ongoing activities which also provide a good basis. And we organized the experts group meeting in China last year to bring the experts together to show how, from the experts' view, to support this kind of initiative. We also invited the government officials to exchange their views with the experts. And also at that experts group meeting, so the policymakers requested the Secretariat of ASCAP to continue this kind of benefit analysis, especially the social and the economic and environmental benefit. That's what we are going to do for next step, to identify and to quantify the social, economic, and environmental benefits for the Asian Energy Highway. So like I mentioned earlier, in this region, the sub-regional initiative is already going on. If you look at this South Asia, Central Asia, Southeast Asia, and Northeast Asia, there are ongoing sub-regional initiatives. So our strategy is to work with these ongoing sub-regional initiatives to build on these sub-regional initiatives to expand it to as a regional initiative. So I will not talk about the details of each of the sub-regional initiatives. I think you are all familiar with this from different sub-regions, from Central Asia, from South Asia, from Northeast Asia, and also we talked a lot of this plan. and the Great Mekong sub-region. And this is ASEAN Power Grid, and which I think this probably is the most advanced sub-regional connectivity initiative in Asia. And also the physical connections already there, and also the members of ASEAN countries, they discussed about the electricity market, and also some kind of agreement for the intergovernmental cooperation to develop the standard, and also some of the regulations and for the power market. So what we're going to do, like I mentioned earlier, for the continued feasibility studies, and also the potential to integrate both the production and the distribution of electricity. So we have to set up a kind of mechanism, like in different sub-regions, the mechanism there, like for working group, for intergovernmental kind of consultations. So I think at the regional level, we also need this kind of institutional arrangement at the working level, also at the senior government officials level.